I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It is Tuesday, August 26. We started on time. Yesterday was a disaster, but we persevered, and we are here. The Daily Puck Drop every day at 10 a.m. if you're watching or listening live on YouTube, X, or the Puck Sports mobile app. If you don't have the Puck Sports mobile app, download it today from your app store. Also, it doesn't matter if you're watching or listening later, all the same platforms. YouTube, just search Puck Sports. Also, check out the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com. We are inside the Limbeck Lumber Studios. They're going to take care of you for all of your lumber needs, including contractors. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbecklumber.com. Follow me on all the social media channels. It's Puck Sports. TikTok is Puck_sports. And as we mentioned before, sign up and join the Pucks Posse for just $5 a month, or you get a discount if you go to if you sign up for a year, pucksports.com. You get full access to all the shows, and becoming a member directly supports everything we do at Puck Sports. All right, coming up on the rundown today, Cal did it again, and I took more money off the go-to guy, Jim Moore. We'll talk to Jim Duquette coming up in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll do the tale of the tape between himself, Cal Raleigh, and Aaron Judge. Now, again, it's more important that the Mariners won, and it's more important that they're a game and a half back of Houston and all of that. But it's fun to sit here and debate whether or not Cal Raleigh will win the American League MVP. And we'll look at the numbers. We'll go over, the two. What makes, at the end of the day, what do you value more? And what is the realistic shot that Cal Raleigh could win the American League MVP. So we'll get Jim's thoughts on that one. Seahawks countdown, cutdown day, I should say, coming up later today. 1 o'clock, I believe, is the time. So 3 hours from now, they've got to get the roster down to 53. John Canzano with the first week of college football will join us coming up later in the program. We taped with John earlier this morning, so we'll play that podcast back for you coming up at around 10:45, 10:50 or so today. 2025 predictions, no. We're not going to get our 2025 predictions. That should be, hey, what the puck? But because I didn't change it earlier, it still says 2025 predictions because we taped our Cougar podcast from earlier this morning. Cal Raleigh, again, it's just amazing what Cal has been able to do every single time he steps out of the mound or steps out on the field. And the fact that he did it in the very first at-bat, that was literally the best part of the game yesterday. I'm not watching it. We have football practice that starts at 5:45. I literally am missing all these games. We'll watch them back later when we get home. But my phone is just on fire. It's just buzzing left and right. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Look at it, and people are just laughing. I'm getting texts from bunch of media people laughing their asses off about Jim. He's like, boy, that didn't take long for him to lose his bet. For those who don't know from yesterday's show, Jim wanted to win his $50 back. He had made a bet with me weeks ago that Cal Raleigh, or about a month ago, that Cal Raleigh would not get to 50 home runs. Well, he was going to get there. Jim saw the writing on the wall as he was getting closer and closer that he's going to get to 50. He also made another bet. I think it's $20. I have it written down somewhere that Suarez would hit more home runs than Cal. So he's going to owe me another 20 for that. And so in yesterday's show, he's like, let me try and win my money back. Double or nothing. Let's bet on the over-under. You set the over-under the date of which he gets his next home run. And I set it for Friday against Cleveland through Friday's game. And he took the over on that. First at bat, 50th home run. So he owes me another 50. So he's lost. He's going to lose $120 The initial Cal bet, another 50 on Cal, and then 20 there with the Suarez bet. I just enjoy doing business with him. And if he's watching or listening right now, thank you. Thank you for your contributions to what I call the Jim Moore 401k plan, because that's really what it is. But Cal Raleigh, and then Cal Raleigh, and he continues to always do this, says the right things after every one of these games. Davis is writing the story in the Seattle Times, and they're talking to Cal about, what does it mean to get to 50? No catcher's ever been there before. And it's just reaction to it is, I'm happy. It's great, but I'm just happy for the team. I'm happy for the team success that we won. We're playing better baseball and all of that. And that's, that really is what Cal Raleigh is all about. Team first over individual success, even when he's the home run celebration. I mean, there really is no celebration. He hits the home run. It's another massive shot to left field. He just drops his bat and runs around the bases. And it's just, he is such an endearing, refreshing quality about him in this day and age of all sports at all levels. This me first attitude that a lot of players have, and he just doesn't have it. It's very old school. That's why I think it was Bill Kruger yesterday said this on the show. Why do you think a guy like Johnny Bench likes him so much and has gotten to know him? Is because of how he plays and how he carries himself and how he would be able to play in any era and be embraced by the players of any era there in baseball. And so it's an incredible testament to Cal Raleigh and how much he just continues to go and go and go. The improvements, and we talked about this yesterday as well. The improvements from the right side. They talked about it on the broadcast. It was yesterday, even the day before. The work that he has put in behind the scenes to become a better hitter from the right side. To all the kids out there, when you say, including my kid, hey, why don't you go hit off the tee? Well, that's boring. Well, Cal Raleigh, that's how he's become such a better hitter from the right side, is working on high tee work. And I think Angie during the broadcast had talked about it. They've talked about it kind of all season. That's been a staple of Edgar Martinez, of tee work. Randy Arosarena's talked about that. Josh Naylor's talked about that one. So again, hitting off a tee is good for you, kids. All right. And I'm really just saying that for my 12-year-old who thinks it's boring, not fun. Yeah, it's important. And he is not, I think the cool thing about Cal, he's just not satisfied. There's nothing, he's not satisfied where he's at. He wants to continue to improve and to be great and to be better and all of it. And it's just a fun watch. Cal Raleigh, just a fantastic season so far. What does it mean? I don't know. Could it mean an American League MVP? Jim Duquette's going to join us in a quick second. We're going to talk about that. The tale of the tape between Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. Before we talk to Jim, he joins us so weekly. It's all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Let's get a word from Flat Stick Pub before we talk to Jim Duquette of MLB Network Radio. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. Yes, sir. And big thanks to Flat Stick Pub. They bring the one and only Jim Duquette with us every single week to talk baseball from a national perspective. You can listen to Jim daily on Sirius XM Channel 89, host of the Power Alley, and then also the Front Office Show with Jim Bowden on Sundays. And again, Jim Duquette is brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Well, he did it again, and it didn't take him long. Number 50 in his first AB, Jim Duquette.
It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. The run that he had, that he just continues it. There's seemingly no drop off. I just love, like, the more records that he breaks, the more fantastic like this season becomes, and the greater chance that he has of taking the MVP award, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit, but to be included in the only two switch hitters to hit 50 home runs, Mickey frickin' Mantle
I know.
and Cal Raleigh. Are you kidding? Like this is unbelievable.
It's incredible to see the company that he's starting to get into, right? And you're right. For those who don't know, Mickey Mantle's got the all-time record for home runs by a switch hitter. It's 54. Set back, I think it's in 61, I believe. Yep. Ken Griffey Jr.'s got the most home runs ever as a Mariner, 56. I mean, he is now on the cusp of surpassing two of the all-time greats in baseball.
Right. Yeah, he's got the record for home runs as a primary catcher, which isn't, insignificant either. But when you're passing Mantle and, most baseball fans, certainly remember or have heard of Mantle, and everybody, I swear, has heard of Ken Griffey Jr., of course. So, and so, passing them and, I'd love to see him pass Griffey. I think he's got an incredible chance to do that. It's still a little ways to go, but the way he's been swinging, I mean, who knows? He might do it by next week. Holy cow. But I think all of those things that he has done, just kind of speaks to it. And, I always find it too fascinating because, we talk about the position, right? And the catching position there's no question, it's the biggest grind of all of and it's the most physical of all the positions. But to switch hit too, the reason why you don't have a lot of good switch hitters or many switch hitters these days, in fact, like Cedric Mullins, who just got traded to the Mets, he used to switch hit. He stopped hitting from the right side because there was so much work involved in trying to maintain your swings from both sides of the plate. And he just became so poor at swinging from the right side. He just said, the heck with it. I'm going to face lefties with my left-handed swing and try to figure it out that way. Like for Cal to be able to maintain that type of, power numbers and, from both sides of the plate, to me is even more remarkable.
I want to get into it because I said we're going to do the tale of the tape between these two, Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. And again, we're biased out here. And we all want Cal Raleigh to win it. And again, if you're in New York, you're like, well, no, Aaron Judge, look what Aaron Judge is doing. And it's not to take, they're both having incredible seasons. Now, Aaron Judge is going to have a leg up on this one because of the offensive numbers are just so through the roof and all the categories that he's leading in. I mean, he's leading in, average and on base and slugging and OPS and they're all time numbers. And it's Aaron Judge, and he plays for the most popular team in baseball and one of the most recognizable teams in the world when you start flashing those uniforms and that logo. Here's the tale of the tape. Let's go first with the slash lines for both. Yep. Cal Raleigh, and I know what he's going to get dinged for, and I want to bring this up because I think it's so funny that we're going to ding him for average when all I've listened to for the last decade in this sport is how average doesn't mean anything anymore. But Cal's slash line is 247, 353. He's slugging 596 with an OPS of 949. Judge, again, he's going to beat him in all these categories. 323, 439 on base, which is incredible. He's slugging 667. His OPS is over 1,000. Now, the two different sets of wars. For baseball war, Cal comes in at 5.9. Right. Judge is going to come in at 6.9. The other war, fan graphs, they're tied at 7.3. And I'm going to start. Why are they two different? Is there something fan graphs looks at that's different than Baseball Reference?
Yeah, they the way I understand it, they factor in defense a little bit more.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, than what Baseball Reference does. That's the primary difference. I'm sure there's subtle differences in the weight, how they weight things. It's hard to know for sure. They don't necessarily let you know how they made the stat or how they created the stat. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's not like this is Diet Coke and Coke Zero, and how we're desperate to find out the recipe. But regardless, there is a slight difference there. But I think Cal's defense, that's the other aspect. Like his defense is so darn good that, and Judge, as good as those numbers are, right now he's had to DH. He's been forced to DH because of that elbow, and he missed, he's had 8 fewer games than Cal, right? So, there is a difference there. But I mean, both of these numbers they're just off the charts. It's really incredible.
No, the home runs and RBIs, Cal's got 50 and 107, and then Judge counters with 40 and 93. Jim, if you had a vote today, you had to vote right now. And don't pander to the Seattle crowd. It's okay if you think the other one is deserving.
Right.
How would you vote this?
Well, first off, I'll answer that by saying, when you and I had this question around the All-Star break, or maybe a little before the All-Star break, I didn't think there's a chance that Cal would be able to be in this conversation. And then as this season has gone on and he ends up, winning the home run derby and all the attention that has come, he's become a household name. I mean, he's continued to swing the bat. He's closed the gap. And I thought Judge would be out a little longer. And I'm like, well, this is going to really give Cal a leg up because he's going to be able to put up numbers and surpass him even further. I think it is pretty close to neck and neck. And I know a lot of the writers that vote, and some of the things that they consider things, in terms of record breaking by position, some of the things that we were just talking about for, breaking record for catchers, for switch hitters, getting to, numbers we haven't seen before. And I legit think that Cal has a slight edge right now, primarily because Judge is on the DH side, and there are writers that will subtract a little bit of points or separate them because of the grind of the position. So again, we still have a whole month to go, but if I was voting, I would give it to Cal today, because of the fact that he's, in that position as a catcher and all of the things in the accomplishments that he's had during this stretch. And having said all that, Judge looks like he's trying to get himself back into the field. He's, tremendous defensively. If he does that, you're going to see his wins above replacement shoot up a little bit there too. So we may see a little bit of effect there, but they're 7.3 is a loud number. We talk about the contract. Like if that played into this too, it would be a no. Like, and then getting your money's worth, or we call it surplus value. Cal's surplus value far exceeds Aaron Judge. If we were playing a front office game, he would win it in that sense.
You kind of touched on it, Jim. I want to go back to the voters, how they view what the team ended up with. If they both have almost identical records right now. I mean, the Yankees have played one less game. They're 71-60, and the Mariners are 71-61. If the Mariners end up with a better record, regardless if they get in, or if they win the division, but a better record.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, let's just say they win the American League West. Yankees doesn't look like they're going to. I mean, they're only 5.5 back, so in theory they could, but there's 31 odd games left here in the season, so it's gonna be tough for them to get it, but not impossible. But under that scenario, how do you think voters get swayed? Do they get swayed more because, hey, he's on a team that won a division versus a player that is on a team that just got in with the wild card?
But again, I've seen it in the past where it helps if they won the division. It's like it's not like they're not going to take a guy who's clearly behind him and jump him over him. But if it's like really, really close and it's like splitting hairs, like the deciding factor, they'll use it. Hey, this team got to the postseason, this team didn't. Or, hey, he helped this team win the division. If he wasn't, and then they'll like to do, if I took him off that team, where would the team be? Right. Which both would not be in the postseason. So that's I don't think so. But I do think that because of the amount of money that the Yankees pay for their players and how much money Judge is making, like some guys will throw that in as a factor again in terms of it helping. So it's not entirely predictive what we've seen in the past, because they are getting newer voters, but that can be a good thing too sometimes, because they're using newer metrics than maybe in the past.
Okay, now we can't compare them defensively because clearly they don't play the same position, and
Right.
and then it's just, defensive metrics when it comes to catching is just kind of an odd one. There's certainly a debate on that one, just
Sure.
in terms of the analytics when it comes to that. Some sites will say the player's really good, and then other sites will like, no, he's not that good, and so everyone's kind of trying to figure out exactly what it means when it comes to specifically catching. But the demand of the position, there is zero debate that the most demanding position from a physical standpoint, even a mental standpoint, is the position of catcher. There's nothing comparable to it. I mean,
No.
maybe some shortstop, but I mean the preparation, what he has to do before the game to get ready for the starters, the opposing team, the bullpen. He's got to go over the game reports, the strategy, all that, and then by the way, then get ready to take BP, not from one side but from both sides. I wonder how much voters will take into the account of the position he plays versus the position that Judge plays.
So you're bringing up a good point that I wanted to just go and look and double check. So we know how good the pitching has been overall. Starting pitching hasn't been as good as it has been in the past when you just look at numbers, but they're still in the upper half, right? The bullpen's in the close to the top 10, not quite there yet. They fell down, but for the most part, if you're a guy that caught that staff the majority of times, you're going to get credit for it too. And sometimes it takes people to, a writer or two or whatever to, a little bit of extra PR to get some of this information out there as the season goes on. Some of the numbers, some of the things that he's had an impact on, and that to me is something that's going to go. It has to go. Has to be noticed way more. Is what does the pitching staff look like when he's caught? And they'll break it down. Hey, what's the team ERA? What's the team's record? They'll go through some of that some of them will, in terms of doing their advanced research. So, I think the fact that he's catching this rotation and it's pitching, if it's pitching well, is going to definitely help them. And like you said, some of the metrics like defensive, they'll use defensive run save, they'll use the WAR defense, they'll use outs above average. There's Sports Info Solutions is another company that does defense, but it's so inexact. That's the hard part about it. Like you can look good in one of them and look bad in the other, and
Exactly.
It's hard to come up with a direct answer.
Well, there is a new article that is out on MLB.com, and 37 experts, MLB.com experts, had casted their votes for the MVP race, how they think it would shake out. They ranked their top 5 picks in each league on a 5 through 1 scale. So 5 points going to first place votes, 4 points for second place, so on, so on. Cal Raleigh, 22 first place votes, and according to this group, would win the American League MVP. Judge second with 15 first place votes. So, I mean, we out here think that he's going to get screwed. I mean, I'm just telling you. Everybody out here thinks he's going to get screwed over. But it seemed, according to at least this unscientific poll, that he certainly has a more than better chance of winning the American League MVP.
And I didn't see the poll yet, but I'm going to go look at it.
I think it just came out. It literally just popped up on my timeline.
It did. Does it list who the voters are? Because most of them, I'm assuming, are writers for MLB.com, which they don't get votes for the MVPs. Like the .comers don't. But they're there at the ballpark watching games. I'm also curious if they had any former players in there, because I get more and more conversations with former players that tend to lean towards Cal Raleigh because of the fact of that position, as you mentioned. They also look at former players like to go, all right, grind to the position, but they also don't like giving it necessarily to the same person over and over, unless it's a clear advantage.
They have it does not. I'm just skimming through it right now. They got Bobby Witt finishing 3rd, Ramirez finishing 4th. Does not have who the voters are.
Yeah. Yeah, generally they're going to keep these days. They're going to try to keep them under wraps because of the threats that they. I mean,
well,
some
for
of the threats
sure, people get harassed
joke.
online. It's like, why did you not vote for my guy? You're terrible. What's wrong
It's
with
ridiculous.
you?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, how do you think that it's going to shake out? What are we at? 31 games or so remaining in the season. Yep. They're a game and a half back of the Astros. I know that the Astros are going to get Yordan Alvarez back. Sounds like this week. The chase is going to go down to the wire. Their season series right now they're even. They're 5-5. They have a monster series come up with Houston in about a month or so, less than a month, on September 19th in Houston. What are the odds? What do you think is going to shake out in the American League West between these two?
Well, I still like, and I was a little concerned about that 9-game road trip, East Coast trip, and they got another one coming up, a 10-gamer coming up. That they got to, and it's against weaker teams, but they got to take care of the business on that road trip. It really hurt because they could have made up ground, could be in first place over the Astros, the way the Astros played during that stretch as well. So there's a missed opportunity there, but you don't want that to happen again on this next road trip. But I still feel like when I look at the two teams, that the Seattle is trending in the right direction, where Houston I feel like they're just holding on, and they're getting some pitchers back in their roster. McCullers just came back, and we'll see what he looks like. And Christian Javier's come back for a couple starts. It hasn't looked great. They have Luis Garcia coming back, and they may have one more, but and then they have Yordan Alvarez, as you mentioned. So I think the thing, like, it doesn't, just because those are named guys that have done it in the past doesn't mean they're going to do it now. Sure. But I think it's gonna come down to the wire. What is this, I'm just looking at the standings, because I know they've got a pretty good hold on that third wild card. But the standings, what are they? A game and a half, is it?
A game and a half back of Houston. They're four up on the Royals for that last spot. They're a half game back of the second spot and a game back of the top spot.
Yeah. So I feel like they I'm pretty confident, and we've seen it happen in the past, but I'm pretty confident this team's a different team that I think they can hold on, and that's where getting to the postseason helps in the past for some of these guys. But 2 games in the loss column behind Houston, a lot of that, if they're tied, you want to have the season edge if you can, obviously, because that's where they decided for the division title. So I think they stack up with Houston is really my answer.
Well, yeah, and we know as we get in the postseason, it's just the game shrinks, the offense kind of goes away a little bit. It's all so much just about pitching and defense. If we started the playoffs today, and these teams are, that are getting in, who are the top pitchers right now? If the postseason started today,
well, so the reason why I brought it up, sometimes it changes, and I was curious, since you're watching them, it's kind of interesting because people across the country don't know how good Brian Wu is. I think he has to be the number one starter. He's been so good. Stuff maybe doesn't stack up comparatively to the others, but it's good enough, and he's gotten the results. So I think he has to be your number one starter. And you got, the way these things are, especially the first round. Let's say the first round they have the division, they have the wild card round, right? And they got to play 3, and let's hope, if they're the 3rd seed of the wild card, then you don't get the home game. You got to go on the road. And that's why it wouldn't be bad, to try to get the home game. But for me, I think Gilbert's outpitched Kirby. I would put Gilbert 2, Kirby 3, but Kirby, he might get hot in September. You go, okay, he's the 2 guy or the 1 guy, So, but they have such good quality. To me, it's always I've talked to Joe Torre in the past about this. I've talked to Tito Francona, AJ Hinch. When they have those decisions, when they have 3 good starters, people try to get, well, let's do the matchups, and they try to get too fancy with, well, this guy pitches better at home, and I don't know about this guy in the number 1 starter. Those guys, they go, I'm not smart enough. I want to go, game 1 is my best guy. Game 2 is my best. The next one, and hottest pitcher in game 3 is this. And because a lot of times you'll get the question, well, can that guy come back on 3 days rest and pitch game 4? Nobody does that anymore. Like very, very rarely, and then, okay, well, you can get them 3 starts, or you can get, they're all these starts are important. Line up the best ones, give them, if you get 2 chances to start, you might finish off the series that way, if you rather than playing games with, who pitches better at home versus on the road. So that's how I would line it up, just as how they have pitched it.
Great.
Unless there was like a significant difference on a guy that pitched well on the road versus home, which I don't think, and I didn't get in that deep on the rotation.
I agree with you. I think when it comes to who their top 3 starters would be, the only change I might make, and I think it's a worthy debate, is whether or not George, because I mean, God, they're all good. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I agree with Wu. I agree with Gilbert for sure. I think they would lean to go Gilbert first, but I think it's very much up for debate, because I don't think there is no question that Wu has had a better season than Logan Gilbert. I think it comes down between Kirby and Castillo, because I think you could look at Kirby and go, and he did it the last time they were in the postseason. He would seem more suited to come out of the bullpen in a role in which he could pitch 2 to 3 innings.
Sure.
Because he throws more strikes, and he's more of a strikeout thrower than a guy like Luis Castillo can be. And so maybe that would be the one change. And then I like the little secret weapon they would have in Bryce Miller. They could unleash Bryce Miller, also as a 2-inning guy there in the postseason. And it's a fun debate to have. And the first round in the American League would be great. Would you sign up for Red Sox Yankees in the first round?
Oh, man, goodness. Well, I'd love that. I'd love to see that in the American League. I'd love to see Mets Phillies in the first round, or the Mets Dodgers in the first round. They went to the LCS together last year. I want to see the Dodgers have a wild card game. Those Yankees Red Sox games, the two really high payrolls, and they're having to play the wild card with the winner. They did square off against each other, one gamer back in, I think it was 23, that the Red Sox won in a 1-game playoff at Fenway. And that's the year that the Red Sox went to the LCS, I think, and lost to Houston. So it has happened not that long ago. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. There's some ones that you would love to see that, and in particular, those two, it'd be much better. And I would love to see, I'd love to see Toronto win the division, Seattle win the division. Get some new teams and new blood into the mix here.
Well, and I think for Seattle, it's currently being in that, they would be the 6th seed, right? Because they're the last wild card. I think for them, they have got to be able to have some home games, and they got to win the division. This division is it is absolutely for the taking for them, and they've got to get it, because I think if they can't get it this year, I mean, the self-doubt of whether or not they can ever beat this team, especially with the subtractions of this baseball team they already had, the fact that Alvarez hasn't played since April. Right. This is, it would be a disappointment. People would be excited, Jim, that they got in the playoffs, but it's certainly a disappointment if they can't win the division this year.
Yeah, understandable. And it's not like they can't, they are built to have a deep run, regardless if they do win the division. But it is these days, and we saw it with the Rangers, when the Rangers were the road team, I think, the final wild card when they won the World Series that year. They won, I think, almost every game of theirs on the road they won. So it can be done. But it's definitely more difficult when you're having to go on the road and play in that, those hostile environments. Even though in baseball it's a little different, home field advantage, there is still an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's fun to watch. This is an exciting time of year. It's a baseball. It's the postseason. It's going down to the wire. For divisions, for wild card standings, playoff standings, all of it, and they got football starting. It's the best. It's
a fun year. It's a fun time. It's right now. I think it's the best time for baseball, and then you got football too. If you're a big football people, of course, but baseball, man, the final 30 to 40 games were basically in the final 30 games. The race, every night there's a change. It feels like in the standings, it's the best.
Yeah, it's great, and we love having you on every single week. And again, you can get more of Jim Duquette on MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM channel 89. Follow him on social media, Jim Duquette GM. daily on the Power Alley, and then also the Front Office Show with Jim Bowden on Sundays. And he joins us every Tuesday, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Thank you, as always. Always look forward to it, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right, see you next Tuesday. Thanks, bud.
There he is, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio. If you missed any of Jim's appearance, check out the podcast later, the video up on YouTube, and also the podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast. A part of the Daily Puck Drop, which gets posted around noon, right when we wrap up. All right, we will talk to John Canzano coming up here in a bit. The first real full week of college football gets underway coming up. I know they started here last week, but come on, there was one they were playing in Dublin and Stanford played. We'll talk about Stanford. We recorded earlier this morning, and God, I'm going to ask this question. You can't look it up, but I know many of you are going to look it up. Do you know who the head coach of Stanford is right now? You can't. Please don't look it up. Just try and guess. It's an interim coach, and I want to know if anyone can actually guess who the head coach of Stanford football is right now. I did not know. Actually, I forgot. I think I remember reading it months ago. Forgot. And then I was looking up their box score, and they were putrid on offense. And I'm like, who the hell's the guy? And yeah, you got a couple of you guys are getting it right. I think you guys looked it up. I know that. I know you all did. You all looked it up. You guys are lying to yourselves that you didn't. You look it up. Indeed, I think David was the first one in. David Savala. Frank Wright, the head coach. Just God. And he's the interim head coach, not even like the main coach. We'll talk to Canzano coming up here in a bit. Seahawks cutdown day, and it's happening all across football right now. They got a bit down to 53 here by 1 o'clock, and they've made some news already. That they have traded Michael Durrell, their offensive tackle, to the Falcons for a conditional 2027 7th-round pick. That was first reported by Tom Pelissero. Also, other reports, they have released cornerback Demarion Williams. He was a 4th-round pick of the Ravens back in 2022. Also being released. That's one I'm bummed about this one. It was first reported by CBS Sports. Damian Martinez has been released by the Seahawks. A 7th-round pick, had over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns last year from Miami. I think many of you remember his time there with, obviously, the Oregon State Beavers. I thought this was my favorite pick of the draft. I love Damian Martinez, and I thought he'd just be great, but credit to George Holani. George Holani took this job. He took the third. He took the 3rd spot and took it away from him. And he was it from the get-go. Of if you were reading and following this all along, from everyone that covers the Seahawks, they all raved about the former Boise State product and how good he was. You saw it in that first preseason game against the Raiders. He was different. He was better, and he won the battle. And that's the great thing about football, man. It's just the tape don't lie, and it's just doesn't matter where you're drafted, doesn't matter how heavily recruited you were, what a big time prospect you were. It's just about who can play better. And George Holani took that as a challenge when they selected Damian Martinez, even though it was a 7th-round pick, and I assumed Martinez would make the team. That it was a no-brainer for him to make the team, but he did not make it. He has been released. We'll see if they can get him onto the practice squad. A surprise, again, reported by Pelissero, and I agree with Bob Condotta, what he said on X. Jarek Reed II has been waived by the Seahawks. He was an all-rookie special teamer back in 2023. Bob writing that he thought he would make it. We'll see how the back end of it could mean. Probably good news for Ty Okada that he has probably made the team on the 53-man roster. But again, there's a lot of players, a lot of moves are being made right now. Brady Henderson of ESPN about 48 minutes ago, they have informed Bubba Thomas, the defensive tackle, that he has been waived. He was an undrafted rookie there out of South Alabama. And so we'll continue to follow all those who covered the Seahawks and great people that cover it every single day. The very latest is all NFL teams, including your Seahawks, need to get down to 53. I think the one that's the most intriguing is probably the wide receiver room, what they do there with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Does he survive or does he get waived? Do they decide to go with keep Sims and maybe even Cody White? How many receivers do they keep anyways? They're not going to be in a lot of, 3 wide receiver sets anyways, just how their offense is going to be built this year. And, we talked about this yesterday with MVS of normally when you play a lot in that last preseason game, you're not making the team. And he played like 20 snaps or so in that game. So a big decision there. I know they had high hopes for him. Didn't really set himself apart in training camp. Didn't really do much there in the preseason games. Now, based on Horton's injury, his ankle that he suffered against the Chiefs, maybe that will give them pause and maybe they'll have to keep him on the team. But something to keep to watch here today as they get closer to the deadline. Again, is at 1:00. And then, of course, the season gets underway next week. All right, let's pivot back here over to football. John Canzano joins me every single Tuesday. After we talk to John, if there's more updates on the Seahawks, we'll get to it before we do Hey with the Puck. But John Canzano, every single Tuesday talking college football, talking everything. But now we're in the meat and potatoes of Canzano's wheelhouse, talking college football. Of course, you can read all of John's work up at johncanzano.com. Of course, listen to his radio show. It's daily down in Portland, Oregon, from 3 to 6. We've got a brand new sponsor for John. We'll announce that coming up next week, but he's back on talking college sports. We cover a lot on this week's episode with him. We caught up earlier this morning. The outlook for the West Coast schools, big game this week with Texas and Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Johnny Mateer, the Gambler, is in action. Every team should be playing the Gambler by Kenny Rogers every time Mateer comes out on the field. I love Mateer, by the way. I'm pulling for Mateer. Again, we get a preview of all the West Coast schools. Some news on the CW network. Also, potential new media partners with the Pac-12. UNLV update. And could St. Mary's possibly be joining the conference soon as a basketball-only member? Here's our weekly visit with John Canzano of johncanzano.com. John Canzano is with us right now from johncanzano.com. John Canzano, BFT, the bald-faced truth. Radio in Portland, Oregon, 7:50 The Game, 3 to 6 p.m. every single day. And he joins us inside the Limback Lumber studios. He's in the bald-faced truth studios right now. Well, do we count last week as week 1 of college football, or is this the first week of college
This is
football?
the first week. I mean, Stanford was playing last week. Is that college football? We were watching some weird games. There's a game out of the in Europe. That's not college football. This is college football, Puck. That felt a little gimmicky last week, but guys were on YouTube Googling how do I become a kicker and then going out and winning football games last week. That's not real.
I didn't see a second of I didn't see really any football last week. I didn't see certainly a second of Stanford and Hawaii. But my God, I looked at the stats, and that is awful. I mean, they had 286 yards. They threw for 109 yards in the game. And then I had to I was like, I absolutely forgot who the head coach is at Stanford. And I bet you there's not one person. I'm willing to bet not one person in our audience who knows who the head football coach is at Stanford University. He's not even the permanent head coach, right? He's the interim coach.
Interim coach. Frank Reich, the former Indianapolis Colts coach, Andrew Luck's guy, he brought him in. But they had Ben Gulbranson, the former Oregon State quarterback, at quarterback. We all know, look, he went 7-1 at Oregon State, but that was a Jonathan Smith team that ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball. And Gulbranson was, he was a guy who was counted on to throw for 120 yards and, throw 15, 17 passes a game. They are just very limited. They don't have weapons. They did a lot wrong. and they were up against a Hawaii team that's, marginal itself. But the over-under on Stanford is 3.5 wins this season. The under looking pretty good right now, Puck.
Yeah, no, I again, not seeing a second of it, just watching or looking at the stats, it looked bad. Yeah, I'm with you. This is the first official first week here of college football. We'll get to the West Coast games. It gets started pretty good, though. I mean, I'll have to admit. 9 a.m. kickoff on Big Fox, number 1 Texas against number 3 Ohio State. That's a juicy one to start the season with.
Yeah, a lot of hype this week. Fox is treating it like it's the love child of Tim Tebow and Caitlin Clark, this game. There's going to be so much hype around it. Everybody expects Texas is going to contend for the SEC championship game, but Texas has got a little bit of Penn State in it. You know what I mean? A little bit of James Franklin in it. Like can they come up big on the big stage? Feels like it's going to be a breakthrough moment for them. But I still like Georgia to win the SEC. I think Georgia, Kalen DeBoer and Alabama are interesting. I'm just waiting to figure out how Sark's going to screw this up. But we get a big one early.
You know what? You brought up Alabama, and I was thinking of, there was a headline on, I think, ESPN about how Kalen DeBoer is going to do in year 2, and they're ranked 8th in the country, and they've got a 12:30 kickoff Saturday against Florida State. Now it's in Tallahassee, and I don't know much about Florida State, and they're not ranked, and maybe they're not as good as they've been in the past, but it's still Florida State. They carry that name, that brand, the Seminoles. Boy, if he goes in there with what happened in year 1, and they somehow lose the first game against Florida State. The pitchforks were out last year, John. It's going to get worse for him this year.
Yeah,
what does he got to do in year 2 to get them off his back a little bit?
Yeah, he's got to win. That's all they care about. Someone's going to throw a Molotov cocktail through his office window. That's the Crimson Tide. That's the unhinged SEC fan. They're not okay with 9-3. They're not okay missing the playoff. Their expectations there are sky high. Nick Saban also knew what was coming. He didn't run away because, he had a health issue. He didn't run away because, hey, I've done enough winning. He got out because he looked around and said, I no longer have the advantage that I used to have at Alabama. DeBoer walks in there. He's a good coach. He's won everywhere he's been. Sure. But, he's going to be competing against Texas and Georgia and other schools. And, yeah, Tallahassee, I lived in Tallahassee for a while, is a tough place to play. It's obviously there's some weather there if you catch it on the wrong day. It'll be interesting to see kind of how Alabama performs. But what he is set up for is, it is very unforgiving. And this is what, Don Draper in Mad Men said, that's what the money's for. Well, yeah, that's what the money's for, because there's no forgiveness here and he has no margins. He has to go win these kinds of games. There's no, early, it's just year 2. The audience there is not going to, the crowd's not going to be forgiving.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I think part of him kind of relishes that challenge that he's put forth for him. The other game that I'm intrigued about, because there's not a ton of headliner games minus the games we just talked about. Number 18, Oklahoma at home, favored by 35.5. Which way do you think Mateer's going on that game?
Yeah, look, I'm telling. Check his Venmo.
Which way? Do you think he's taking them, or what is he laying the points? What do you think he's doing?
I think Oklahoma is going to be, I hate saying this because Oklahoma's played for national championships. They're not Cinderella. This is not like an outlier underdog program. But I think Oklahoma is poised for one of the biggest bounce backs. You look at the Jaden Ott addition at running back. Sure. You look at Mateer. They went out in free agency and they got 2 really good playmakers on offense. They got Arbuckle calling plays. That offense, I think, is going to be formidable. I think Mateer is going to be talked about for about 6 or 8 weeks as a Heisman candidate. Don't know if he can win the thing, but I think Oklahoma is a sneaky team, a sneaky pick to get into the playoff.
Yeah. Well, they've certainly. You forget about Jaden Ott. He's just a terrific running back. As great as the Mateer addition was, Jaden Ott certainly a great addition there for Oklahoma. All right, let's flip it over to the West Coast teams. Oregon's got Montana State coming up on Saturday. You'll probably talk to Dan Lanning this week. We've talked a little bit last week about Oregon. The outlook there for the Oregon Ducks as they take on Montana State to kick off their season.
Yeah, they're 27.5-point favorite in this game, but They didn't play well. Oregon didn't play well last year at the beginning of the year. Remember, they had that close game with Idaho. Then Boise State took them to the wire. They kind of didn't wake up until about the third week of the season. I'll be interested to see how ready they are to play or if they're flying around this year. It's the More and More show, though, on Saturday. It's Dante Moore at quarterback. How does he look in this offense in what should be a tune-up game? And it's DeCorian Moore, his wide receiver, young guy who's supposed to step up big in the vacancy created by the Evan Stewart injury. So even though they could probably lay down and just run the football and win this game, I want to see the ball in the air a little bit, Puck. I want to see that Dante Moore can make those simple reads. And I do think it's simplicity for him because he was overwhelmed, or he looked overwhelmed at UCLA. He looked overwhelmed in spots at Oregon, even playing here or there. Dan Lanning told me this summer, he said, I said, what are you looking for? And, he says, well, you know how a quarterback goes through his progressions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? He says, if one's there, take it. Like, I don't want the guy overthinking it. If it's there, take it. So let's see what Dante Moore can do. Does he take what Idaho or Montana State gives him?
Yeah. Washington's at home. They got it's a late one, 8 o'clock start, Big Ten Network against Colorado State. I mean, Colorado State's a sneaky team, always are. Very good. It's a tough first test for Jed Fish and his Washington Huskies Saturday night.
Yeah, the question for Washington all year last year was they got pushed around, right? Their offensive line was not good. Games they won, they handled the defensive line. Games they lost, they didn't. So keep an eye on that. Like, this should be a game where Washington, with a size advantage up front, dominates the point of attack. But if they don't, it could be the marker of, some danger there and a big red flag for the rest of the season. Obviously love the quarterback, goes without saying. Mm-hmm. He's a player. They've got playmakers, but if they can't protect him, they can't block for the running back, they're going to have trouble. And Colorado State, they play with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, they're coming into the Pac-12 in a year, and, you've seen them in big games against Colorado show up to play. So this is probably a big one in their minds.
It's an old school game for Oregon State. It's like the old Pac-12. They're at home against Cal, 7:30 on ESPN. I like that start for the Beavers for the 25-year.
Yeah, Cal's got a lot of question marks. And it's a pivotal game, I think, for both of these programs because Cal really needs this win. They need it. They dominated Oregon State a year ago. Justin Wilcox brought in Nick Rolovich as an analyst. He's got Brian Harsin calling the plays.
Right.
He's got, this is like reclamation project in Berkeley, right? And so but Cal needs this game, but they're going to Research Stadium. That is a ridiculous place to play in the last few years. Oregon State wins there. And then you've got the addition of Oregon State going, hey, we need this game too. Plus it's on ESPN. Pac-12, I'm told the Pac-12, Teresa Gold, the commissioner, and the rest of the Pac-12, they sat down with ESPN earlier this week. I mean, it's a showcase game for the Pac-12. They'd like to put on a good show and show that they belong and have Oregon State look good, and Malik Murphy's at quarterback. Oregon State unfortunately suffered an injury at the wide receiver position. They lost one of their key targets there, but this game will be, I think, a good game and a good opportunity for the future Pac-12 to showcase itself a little bit against Cal.
I'm going to help you out this year with your picks for the upcoming football season.
All right.
The total in the Wazoo and Idaho game is 50.5. I think take the under in every Wazoo game this year because they got a new look offense, defense, low-scoring games. This is going to be such a different look and feel for Washington State heading into this year.
Yeah, and I think this game's on the CW at 7 o'clock, and it's a tough ask to have Washington State fans drive to Pullman and watch this game in person. And I know Ann McCoy would like people to go. She'd like them to pay for parking and buy food. But I also think if you're not going to this game, it's important to the Pac-12 that you tune in because that number on the CW will be important. And I think they're going to announce this week that their media rights deal, second piece of their deal for 26 and beyond is going to involve the CW. And I think they want on that Saturday night to be able to talk about that and showcase that. I've previously reported that deal is done. It's just a matter of formally announcing it, expecting it this week. But I think it's a big game for the CW and what they want to do in football and sports. They're expanding their sports coverage. And it's a big game for Washington State's first year head coach. He needs a W there, ugly or not, Puck.
More details on the media deal. One, do we know what the money is that's coming into these schools? And then two, is there another shoe that's going to drop on that media deal?
Yeah, the first piece we already know is CBS. It's big CBS and it's CBS Sports. They've got the championship games. The second piece is going to be the CW. And I expect that the Pac-12 is going to announce it in the next 48 hours, 72 hours. They're not going to want to get lost in the college football weekend. And I think the CW wants to begin talking about it during the broadcast on Saturday when they have that game. There is a third piece. There's a third element to it. I've long speculated Warner Brothers Discovery, which would be TNT, Turner, some other elements, some streaming elements. But I did hear last week that the Octagon, the Pac-12's consultant, met with a streaming partner. I think it's an offshoot of NBC that they met with, but I don't have that yet from anybody that I want to put out that out there in print. But I can tell you here that that third piece will be interesting because it's either going to be like, Warner Brothers Discovery lost the NBA. Will they backfill with the Pac-12? Are they interested in Pac-12 basketball? Is that why the Pac-12 was talking to ESPN earlier this week and last week? Is ESPN still in it as that third partner potentially? And then I do think ESPN's new direct-to-consumer offering is going to be the fourth piece, and all the Olympic sports will be under that umbrella. So I think people can subscribe and watch it. Now, the money you mentioned, I still am hearing that the money's going to come in somewhere around $8 million to $11 million per school. Now, there's some wiggle room in there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it fall in the high end because Pac-12 Enterprises is going to be used as a production arm. And I think there's going to be some creative accounting. I would do this if I were the Pac-12. If you're going to announce this deal, why not bake in the Pac-12 Enterprises revenue that you're going to get for producing all these games and being the production arm on the Olympic sports and the CW and everything, and inflate that number closer to the $11 or $12 million range so you look better and you can hold your head higher. But I think that's what's coming. I think, $9 million per school, $11 million per school. Keep an eye, though, on the Pac-12 Enterprises part when they make the announcement. Will they tell us how much of this is Pac-12 Enterprises, or are we going to have to wait for their tax filing to figure that out?
John, UNLV was back in the news just talking about why they didn't join the conference. For those who don't know the story, explain what the perspective that the UNLV Running Rebels had on why they didn't come.
Well, remember those 5 schools left the Mountain West. Pac-12 wanted UNLV. They wanted Memphis. At the time, the Mountain West Conference, I think, did a really good job of saying to UNLV, look, we're going to promise you this windfall payment based upon these departures. We'll give you, $25 million and you stick around. That got UNLV to pause and sign a grant of rights. It is contingent upon the Mountain West delivering those funds, so that could change. But the AD at UNLV, interesting move this week, as he goes public sort of explaining why UNLV is staying, and he does it on the company stationery, basically. It's like the UNLV website. And he just basically says the Pac-12 isn't what it used to be. It's not Oregon, it's not USC, it's not Utah. It's this new Pac-12. He said anybody who thinks there's not going to be change in the next 5 years is full of it. And we're staying put because, we can go to a Power 4 conference with no exit fee based on the new grant of rights. I found it I think there's more there. I've reached out to the AD there to ask him, can we have a conversation about this? I've reached out also to Memphis's AD to try to drill down on it. I'll have all that at johncanzano.com. But it's interesting to me, and it sounds to me like he's doing some explaining that isn't his. He's trying to explain to a fan base that maybe is a little frustrated at the notion of being left behind in the Mountain West playing Wyoming and San Jose State. He's trying to explain to them what the rationale and logic is. I'm not sure it holds up. It's not what I would do. I would want to be with the best schools that I could possibly be with for whatever comes next, because I think jumping Mountain West to a Power 4 is a bigger leap. And what did the Big 12 just tell Memphis? No thanks. We're not interested. We're not buying. So I think, there's some to be determined here, but it was a very curious stance. And I almost felt like, yeah, that's what I would say if I had to explain something that was someone else's decision.
Okay, so UNLV not in. St. Mary's has always been talked about of joining this conference, basketball only. What's the latest on that one?
Yeah, St. Mary's is in a holding pattern right now. We just saw that, there's some Dallas Baptist got added as an affiliate school in baseball. It was a great addition for the Pac-12. People don't know Dallas Baptist. They are a perennial, NCAA tournament team in baseball. They're going to add strength of schedule. They're going to add depth. It gives you 7 baseball schools. It's going to be a really good baseball conference. But the money is made in football first and then men's basketball. And St. Mary's, I think, is an interesting possibility. They also add a baseball program that has recent success in the NCAA tournament as well. So I'm watching St. Mary's right now. I've got an eye on them. I did talk to Roger Thompson, the president at St. Mary's, yesterday. He told me they're just in a holding pattern. They're waiting to see what's going to happen with the Pac-12. And they've been told by the Pac-12, let us finish the football business and the media rights business, and then we will pivot to other things. But I do find that the Pac-12 right now is starting to dabble in other things. And if they're going to add a basketball school, I think St. Mary's makes a lot of sense. I would take them in all sports, and I would take them at a incredibly small distribution. You eat what you kill, essentially. But you can be with us if you want. And, I'd let Randy Bennett, mix it up with San Diego State and Gonzaga.
All right, it's Tuesday. When do your predictions for the week come out?
Thursday. And I got to tell you, I might take this thing to Vegas sometime, because the last 2 years, Puck, knock on wood, I might as well say it, I've been on fire, particularly in the early part of the season. I don't know what it is.
Start putting your money where your mouth is.
I don't know. I'm betting with my reputation, man. I'm not, wagering money over here.
Well, you could. I mean, you wrote the article on the Oregon wagering. Sports betting is through the roof. Start betting on it. Get a sponsor. John Canzano, brought to you by the Oregon State Lottery.
There you go.
That wouldn't be a conflict of interest at all. I've been trying to get casinos all the time. By the way, if you are a sports book out there and like to sponsor this program, I'm open for business.
We can give our 5-star picks.
Yeah, let's go 5-star picks. All right. Find everything up at johncanzano.com. He joins us every single Tuesday throughout the college football, well, throughout the year, but we really hammer home the college football stuff. And it starts in earnest coming up this Saturday. Thanks, John. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, buddy.
Again, if you missed any of the John Canzano appearance, it'll be up on YouTube after the show. Also, part of the Daily Puck Drop. Also on your favorite podcast platforms. The heavyweights: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube Music, your whatever your desired podcast platform is. That will be up there for your listening pleasure. Talking a lot about the upcoming games this weekend. Also, a thought or two there on the CW network. Just always great information there from John, just on all things college sports. And also just on St. Mary's, the possible addition of St. Mary's to the Pac-12. And again, he'll be joining us every single Tuesday, as he always has been throughout the college football season. And we have him on all the time, but really, when we get into this time, it's focused a lot on that's just the changing world of college football. And I think we all hope that at some point it gets back to just being how it used to be. One thing I was thinking about that made me reminisce about how college football used to be is when we were discussing last week, I think, about the Major League Baseball and realignment. And they were talking about how they would realign the divisions and the leagues, and more geographically based, right? Seattle was in there with potentially Portland, or if it's Salt Lake City. And there was even a model that had them with the A's and then even the Giants. And I'm like, that would be phenomenal. Just be great. It's true West Coast teams. And so I hope at some point college football gets back to it. Probably not in the near future, but it's at some point before we're dead and buried. I'd like to see all those West Coast schools back together. But it gets started this week. College football really getting underway. Great matchup with Texas and Ohio State to kick things off there on Saturday. Washington in action against a sneaky good opponent in Colorado State. They're heavy favorites. They should win the game. We'll see if Colorado State can give them a little bit of a run. A late night start, which again is not fun for anyone, and I get it. I don't care if most of your fan base lives here or not, but nobody likes an 8:00 kickoff. It's on the Big Ten Network. And then for the Cougs, they got to show up there against the Vandals, 7:00 there on the CW Network. Then the next week, they'll be back at home, San Diego State, then back at home against Washington before they head on the road for 3 straight weeks, Colorado State, Ole Miss there, and Virginia. And we'll see. We've got the Old Crimson podcast coming out tomorrow. And it'll air every Wednesday, and we're going to air it during the live show. Last year we didn't air it during the live shows, but this year we're going to. And we recorded this morning, and it's exactly like it's always been, yelling and screaming right away. We're right back in terrific game for myself, a former All-American safety, Paul Sorensen, who what back in the day was one of the greats of the Pac-10, or I think, well, was he playing for the Pac-8? Did he have Pac-8, or was he always Pac-10? I think he might have been a little Pac-8. One of the all-time greats, and he's just a great guy. And then there's Jim. Then there's Jim and I. And Jim and I are just, we like to stir the pot with Sorensen and get him worked up, and we got him worked up on this week's show about the home schedule. He did not like us taking a dig at our home schedule. And, I mean, truth be told, it's not good. The home schedule stinks. Minus Washington and the Apple Cup, and then the Beavs coming. But other than that, Toledo, Louisiana Tech. I mean, it's Idaho, San Diego State. It's not great. Hopefully, it's just a one-year thing, and they can get back to having some better games at home. That will come out tomorrow. It's going to be part of the Daily Puck Drop coming up tomorrow, along with myself and Jim. And then also Divish will be on tomorrow there as well. Just a reminder, tomorrow's show, I think I mentioned this a few days ago. Maybe I didn't. But off Thursday and Friday, we're taking my first trip of the summer. But first vacation for me, but vacation here for the summer, taking a few days off before everything gets crazy next week with school and Labor Day and all of that. So I'm excited to get away for a few days and just sit back and do nothing. A little rest and relaxation. So we won't be on Thursday or Friday. We won't be on Monday. So the next show we'll do live will be on Tuesday. Because speaking of tomorrow, we will not be doing the show live tomorrow, but there will be a show. The Daily Puck Drop will come out at 10. I have a prior engagement. I've got to drive. It's a long story. At some point, we'll get into it. I got to drive back over to Paulsbo, to my mom's place. My sister's there. I need to take my sister back to the airport. So driving over there. But we'll have the Daily Puck Drop coming out tomorrow. It will be released at 10 a.m. With myself. Jim will stop on by for a few minutes. We'll have Divish, and then a part of tomorrow's Daily Puck Drop will have the Old Crimson podcast, which will come out on Wednesdays throughout the football season. Big thanks to Flat Stick Pub. Flat Stick Pub is back sponsoring the key sponsor there for the Old Crimson podcast. But it will come out tomorrow at 10 a.m. So for you crew that likes to certainly watch the show live on YouTube, just understand there is a show. It won't be live. It'll be all up there for you to just devour starting there at 10 a.m. We'll have Hey What the Puck coming up here shortly. Latest with the Seahawks. Again, it's a big day. It's for all teams around the NFL making all of their moves. With cutdown day coming up to 53. Still nothing on really what should be the big name one, and that being Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's kind of the headliner. No surprises yet there from the Seahawks. Brady Henderson, about 15 minutes ago, first report that the Seahawks have informed their long snapper, one of them, Zach Triner, that he is being waived. He was signed early in camp. And Chris Stoll hurt his back early in camp, but they hope that he is back here sometime soon. We are just recapping what we had earlier in the day. Mike Jarrell, offensive lineman for the Seahawks, has been traded to the Atlanta Falcons there for a 7th-round pick. That was one of the big storylines so far. In addition to that, for the Seahawks, Damian Martinez, we talked about Damian Martinez before. And I'm bummed because I love Damian Martinez. I think he's a good running back. I hope he can sneak through and get to the practice squad, but it should not take away anything of what George Holani did for the Seahawks. And they got a good running back room. God, and it doesn't include Kenny McIntosh. God, Kenny McIntosh would have been so good in this offense. So good. Such a tough running back. God, I mean, that offense built for someone like Kenny McIntosh. I'm excited to see what Ken Walker looks behind it. Really, they say his style of how he runs is not conducive for it? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Kenny Walker's a special back. And they have got a nice, just a real good. If Walker can play motivated, which he should, a lot of players are motivated in the last year of their contract, and especially when said team dangles that carrot over their head and not giving them that opportunity, right? Haven't given him a contract. Others in his draft class at that position have received contracts. He is not. He'll be motivated to go out and prove that he can deliver. It'll be a fun watch because I think Zach Charbonnet has been a very good running back. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for how good of a running back that he is. I don't think anyone's ever thought that he could supplant Ken Walker. I think on a talent base that it's obvious that Walker is better, but it should not take away the skill set and the running ability of Charbonnet. But that is a nice, nasty 1-2 punch, and it could have just even been better. God, they could have just with McIntosh. Maybe Holani would have beaten out McIntosh too, but there was times last year with Kenny McIntosh that you could see it in the style that he runs, and I just love those SEC running backs because they're a different breed. They play a different brand of football down there. So as we continue to count you down, it's under 2 hours there for the cut down day right now. Oh, well, there's another one that just came up. Patrick O'Connell has been notified that he has been waived. Again, credit to old Brady Henderson for that one. He appeared in 5 games last season. That's an interesting one, with O'Connell being waived. We've talked about this before, that this is, of the position groups, I don't think they have. I'm worried about the wide receiver room. Others are not. We had Rob Staten on yesterday. By the way, Rob will be back with us. And Rob Staten's segment yesterday is up on YouTube. I didn't separate Rob yesterday. That's my fault. We didn't do it yesterday. It's part of, if you want to go back and you miss Rob Staten yesterday, go back. It's part of the full daily puck drop. So go back in there, and it's around it's all labeled there, but it's on the 45-minute mark. If you want to go back and watch or listen to it, he doesn't seem overly concerned about the wide receiver group. We'll see. I'm intrigued to see what JSN. He's not a prototypical number 1 wide receiver, but I think it's the other. He's fantastic. It's just the other stuff with Cooper Kupp and his ability to remain healthy and to play, because he hasn't. And then once you get past that, there's a lot of unproven people back there. Now, the inside linebacker group is the most worrisome to me, because we haven't seen Tyrese Knight at all, because he has been banged up. Ernest Jones has been banged up. He's back. If anything happens to those guys, they are really, really thin back there. And I thought it was probably thought in pretty foregone conclusion that O'Connell would make the team. But the fact that they have decided to waive him today, and again, Brady Henderson of ESPN first with that, is a very interesting move to see what they're doing there. That probably they're waiting to see, as all NFL teams do, the waivers of other players around the league, and there's going to be big name players for other teams that have been cut, and Seattle will hopefully snag one of those guys up. But yeah, that's the inside linebacker position is a concern, not because of Knight and Jones. And Knight and Jones are great players, fun, athletic, move, tackle. They do everything right. It's just, if anything happens to them, where do you go from there? And again, they say Knight's going to be okay for the start of the season, but I don't know. We don't really know until he gets out there and does anything, because he hasn't been on the field at all. That's why when it went back to that scrimmage the other week, last week with the Packers, and Ernest Jones in there fighting him, I'm like, what are you? Oh, get away. No fighting for you, Ernest. Again, rosters going down 1:00 later today, and the Seahawks and other teams got to get down to 53. Before, hey, what the puck? We've got to mention, we got a brand new contest coming up here this NFL season. by the way, that I'd love for everyone to be a part of, if you can, much like we did here with our golf contest. We've got a brand new one, Puck Survivor. See what I did there? Join my Survivor pool. You can join now. Click on the Join Now link up at pucksports.com. So just go to the website, pucksports.com. It's at the very top of the webpage, Puck Survivor. Join the Survivor pool. Many of you who've played the golf contest, Puck the Picker Majors pool, you're already in the system, so you're good. You can just simply click on the link and start make your pick for week one when they're up and available to do so. For those who did not register for the golf and are new to it, big thanks to Sandman Sports, sandmansports.com, Bill and his crew over there. They set up all the games for us. Register, and then you will be able to get in there for Puck Survivor, our NFL contest, our Survivor pool throughout the NFL season that we'll be doing every single week. And if you're new to Survivor, don't know what Survivor is, it essentially is you pick a team every week. If that team wins, you survive, move on to the next week. You can't use that team again. So just understand that if you're unfamiliar with it, you cannot use that team again. They're done. So I took the Seahawks. I wouldn't do this, but took the Seahawks week 1 against the Niners. Seahawks win. Good. I move on to week 2, but I can't take the Seahawks anymore. Now, on the flip side of it, I take the Seahawks. They lose. I'm out. I'm out already. Grand prize, first place, will get $500 in cash, cold hard cash. That's what we're all talking about. Second place is going to get $100 to John Howie Steak. Third and fourth place is going to get the same price. That's good. So, you benefit from. There's no benefit from finishing ahead. If you're fourth place, other than what the price is, but $50 to Georgetown Brewery for third place. Fourth place, $50 to Flat Stick Pub. Tiebreaker is going to be based on registration day and time. So if multiple people go out in the same week to end the pool, the first person to register will break the ties. If multiple people make it through the end of the regular season, then again, the registration day time will break ties and determine the winner. If you've got any questions, concerns, reach out to Bill, who runs Sandman Sports, bill@sandmansports.com. It's free to play. No charge there. Just go to pucksports.com. Puck Survivor, our NFL Survivor contest, all season long there at pucksports.com. Again, big thanks to Bill Sanders and Sandman Sports for helping us out again, like they did with Puck the Picker Majors pool. It was great to have them along the way for that and now for our NFL contest. All right. Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated, making your first call when these damages affect your commercial property or residential. 206-817-8917, or visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. I could do a Cal Raleigh one every single day. I really could. Number 50 yesterday, he's just sensational. He just embodies everything that is great about athletes, especially professional athletes. I love what he says after the game. It's not about individual. It's about team goals, and I'm focused on the team. And for the team right now, is 89 wins going to be enough? If you follow some certain projections out there, I feel Seattle will get to about 87 wins. And some projections have the Houston Astros getting to 89 and winning the American League West. Now, to get to 89, that's not that hard. I mean, it's 17-14. Got to play a little over 500 baseball to get to 89 wins. Will 89 be enough? Probably should be enough. With Houston right now, 5-5 on the regular season. And they've got now another series coming up with Houston, which is going to be a monumental series there in Texas, September 19th through the 21st. We're all going to be happy if they get in the postseason because that's what we want. We want them to get into the postseason, obviously. But if they can't win the division this year, it's going to be a massive disappointment. It really is going to be, because the fan base deserves to have home playoff games, and hopefully they could get enough wins where they could get one of the first 2 seeds. But this is the year to take the division. It's right there for them. It's a game and a half back right now of Houston. Yes, they're getting stronger with Alvarez coming back, but they have to slay these guys eventually. And 17-14 the rest of the way to get to 89, I don't think that's too much to ask for this baseball team. But September 19th through the 21st is going to be a hell of a time. That's the same weekend we've got the Apple Cup. That's a great weekend of sports right there. I don't even know who the Seahawks are playing, but I do know that it's the Cougs and the Huskies, and then just a huge series with the M's and the Astros. And can they get it done? Can they get to 89? That's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to everybody watching and listening today. Thank you to all our sponsors. I can't thank them enough. Limback Lumber, Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new tavern beer at your local bar, georgetownbeer.com. Flat Stick Pub, and also Restoration One. Today's Daily Punch Up, find it up on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, please. Also find the Daily Punch Up on your favorite podcast platforms, and, of course, at pucksports.com. When you're at pucksports.com, please sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. $5 a month. You support all the free content. In addition to, you get bonus shows like our baseball coverage with Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times. Thursdays with Mitch Levy, KJ Arntz. No episode this week. We now produce the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, which you can find every Monday on our YouTube channel, on their YouTube channel, and all podcast platforms. As for the Sports Pit with myself and Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson, I mentioned this yesterday, some changes coming to that one. Going forward, we're going to kind of put a pause on it for a little bit, just because of schedules for all three of us right now. We're kind of up in the air. We're hoping to do one perhaps every single month, or do like an abbreviated one, perhaps with myself and Stretch, or how we can work things out. But just our schedules are kind of all over the place right now. It's been hard to kind of sync up an exact day and time to do it, and to be consistent with it, because we want to be consistent with it for you, the audience. If you have any concerns with it and you're like, hey, man, I signed up just to get that, and you're like, yeah, I'm out now, send me an email. Take care of you. I want to hear from you, but please reach out to me first. puck@pucksports.com. Hopefully I can explain it further and everyone is satisfied with it. But hopefully we'll have some more shows here coming up in the future. But we got you covered for football. John Canzano, Rob Staten is back from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. We've got Danny Kelly from The Ringer coming back. Our handicapper, TroyWins.com, is back. Fridays, we got you taken care of with our Friday football tailgate show. Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times is going to be with us on Fridays. Michael Shandugar from The Athletic is going to be with us. Discuss the Seahawks on Mondays. We continue our coverage of the NFL. Mike Garofolo on Thursdays. We have got you covered better than anyone else for the NFL, both national and local. And you can check all of it up at pucksports.com. We appreciate always all the support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And again, everything up again on all podcast platforms coming up in about around noon or so. All right, we are going to talk to you tomorrow. A reminder, no live show tomorrow, but you will have a daily puck drop dropping at 10 o'clock with myself and Jim, plus Ryan Divish, plus first episode of the Old Crimson podcast, previewing the upcoming Coug season and their week 1 matchup with Idaho. So we'll talk to you at 10 tomorrow. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!